the sound of the bowl sounding just as dusk is settling. It's Wednesday night, and our opportunity to come together in spirit, in heart, in mind, in love. And so I invite you to breathe and to relax. This is your time. This is your opportunity to let go of everything else but one thought, one heart, one mind, one spirit, one God. In this moment, the Holy Presence rises, surrounds you. This Holy Presence is always here, always with us. But in this moment of awareness, as we allow it, as we allow ourselves to feel it, it becomes palpable, present, powerful. Love, love, love. And so as we breathe into our hearts, into our minds, we open ourselves to this moment and allow ourselves to be interpenetrated by this presence, this divinity that is us at once and also all around us, emanating through us, from us, and expressing as us in the world. Holiness, forgiveness, vision, enthusiasm, health, every good thing. We feel it flowing and moving through us now. And as we do, we become ready to receive and to share. We breathe. And so it is. Amen.
So now we use the power of our voices to move these affirmations more powerfully forward into our consciousness and our awareness through our time of chanting. Let's sing together. I'm thankful, so grateful. I am one in the spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. I surrender. I am one in the spirit all around me. I surrender. I surrender. I trust in God. I'm thankful, so grateful. I am one in the spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. I surrender. I surrender. I am one in the spirit all around me. I surrender. I surrender. I trust in God. I'm thankful, so grateful. I am one in the spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. May we sing together this mantra, which means I bow to the infinite creative Spirit of God within. Let's know that truth as we sing together. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Gurudev, Gurudev Namo.
Gurudev, Gurudev Namo.
Gurudev, Gurudev Namo.
Gurudev, Gurudev Namo.
Gurudev, Gurudev Namo.
Gurudev, Gurudev Namo.
Gurudev, Gurudev Namo.
Gurudev, Gurudev Namo.
Namo. Gurudev Namo. Om Namo. Gurudev Namo. Om Namo. Gurudev Namo. Gurudev, Gurudev Namo.
Gurudev, Gurudev Namo.
Gurudev, Gurudev Namo.
Gurudev, Gurudev Namo.
Gurudev, Gurudev Namo.
Gurudev, Gurudev Namo.
Gurudev, Gurudev Namo.
Gurudev, Gurudev Namo.
Om Namo. Gurudev Namo. Om Namo. Gurudev Namo. Om Namo. Gurudev Namo.
Let's prepare for our time of meditation. If you're at home, I invite you to prepare your environment for meditation. Close your door, turn off your phone. Create some space for the presence and the silence. Find a comfortable place to sit where you can sit upright, either sitting on a cushion with your legs crossed or on a chair, with your feet grounded into the earth. Bringing your attention to the movement of the breath. Breathing in fully. Exhaling. Allow all the air to be exhaled from your lungs. Allow your lungs to infill naturally again. And again, exhale all the air out of your lungs. Allowing your belly to fill with breath again. Allow the breath to shift into its own natural rhythm. Noticing the cool air on the inhale and the warmth of the air as it releases from your body. Returning home with the breath. As we follow the breath, we return to our own natural rhythms, our own natural harmony, the life energy of God within. But will not let you rest, will not let you hear your life with wholeness, or feel the grace that fashioned you. Let what distracts you cease. Let what divides you cease. Let there come an end to what diminishes and demeans, and let depart all that keeps you in its cage. Let there be an opening into the quiet that lies beneath the chaos, where you find the peace you did not think possible, and see what shimmers within the storm. Amen. And so we move into that awareness of inner peace, beneath the chaos, beneath the noise, beneath the busyness of life. I invite you, if you're able, to place your hands in your lap, palms upward, as if you're holding a piece of bread. Let it be just the most delicious type of bread that you like. Sacred bread, blessed, holy bread. Let your hands rest in that position. As we hold our sacred bread, let us hold in mind the food that we have been provided for with this day, the nourishment that we have received. Let us consider all that we have taken into our bodies today as a gift from God, as sustenance that has brought us strength. The literal bread that we have partaken in, that has given us the energy to be present in this moment. We feel gratitude for having received this food. As we consider what other food we have received this day, how else have we been fed through the power of God at work in our lives? Through some inspiring reading, daily word, an encouraging word from a friend, a hug from a dear one, or perhaps it was a walk outside that allowed you to shift your energy and perspective. In what ways were you provided for this day? Through your work, your relationships, let's call to mind one special moment from the day that touched your heart. Feel that love energy in your heart radiating as you feel the gratitude for that experience. Perhaps it was the calling of God on your heart to be present for this service tonight. feeling the peace of God enfolding you now. Feeling that peace in every cell of your being. Nurtured, held, comforted by the power of God, provided for. Now consider any area of your life where you may feel lack, you may feel a need, you may feel yourself wanting more. Allow the Spirit of God in you to reveal what you need to know right now to see how you have been provided for, even in that experience. Even in our fear, our worry, our concern, God is always there. We put our trust in God, knowing that day by day, provision is made. Whether it is food for our bodies, food for our mind, food for our spirit, there is always more than enough. As we open ourselves to the infinite good, always available in God. This is the truth that sets us free. All that we need to live our lives fully in this now moment is available to us and will be available in the next moment and the next. We place our faith firmly in the divine. And know that in truth, all is well, all is whole, all is love, all is God. We realize this truth in every way. We are grateful, so thankful. We trust in God. And we share this awareness of this provision for each person on our planet. Right where they are provided for. Right where they are, their needs are met on all levels. God is present. Love is present. Peace is present. And so in our mind's eye, we see the bread we've been holding going forth, being spread out across the planet. That all are blessed. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Jeanmarie, for taking us into a deeper appreciation of our lives and all that we have in our lives to sustain us and to share. And this is a great opportunity to be aware of the gifts that have been given you and the sustenance that sustains you, so that this is an opportunity to share surplus, overflow from your heart. And so this is our time of preparing offering and giving to this ministry that allows the message that lifts our lives and that strengthens us to be shared with the world. And you are a partner with us in that. And so as you use the number that you see on your screen to share, or for those of you who are present with us here in the sanctuary, we're grateful to let you know that you can also give directly into the box here if you'd like to give cash or check or however you'd like to do it. And so this most important thing is, how is it that we share, and what do we bless it with? We bless it by calling it by its name. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive, and so it is. Amen.
It's by thy grace that I see. It's by thy grace that I see. It's by thy grace that I see your holy name. It's by thy grace that I feel. It's by thy grace that I feel. It's by thy grace that I feel your holy name. Someday the day shall come when all the glory shall be thine. People will say it is yours, and I shall deny, not mine. It's by thy grace that I see. It's by thy grace that I see. It's by thy grace that I see your holy name. It's by thy grace that I feel. It's by thy grace that I feel. It's by thy grace that I feel your holy name. Someday the day shall come when all the glory shall be thine. People will say it is yours, and I shall deny, not mine. Peace to all life to all, love to all, peace to all, life to all, love to all, peace to all, life to all, love to all. Your holy name, your holy name, your holy name, your holy name, your holy
Peace to
name
all.
will carry us.
Life to all.
Your holy
Love to
name will carry us.
all.
Your holy
Peace to
name will
all.
carry us.
Life to all.
Your holy
Love to
name will carry us. Your holy name will carry us.
Life to all.
Your holy
Love to
name will carry us. Your holy
Peace to
name will carry us.
Life to all.
Your holy
Love to
name will carry us.
all.
Your holy name.
Thank you, David and Karen. Wonderful to be here together tonight with you all with us, feeling your presence and your energy as we inhabit our awareness of grace, grace at work in our lives and in this moment. Grace means goodwill, favor, the support of God. In Scripture, in John 1:17 says, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. And so the way that we understand that grace is that the transforming power that came to mankind through the work of Jesus established a new and a higher consciousness on earth. That consciousness was always present, but we know that Jesus Christ, our master teacher, established it in his teachings as he shared it, and that consciousness, that awareness, that awakening has moved us forward in our awareness of our oneness with God. One of the tools that Jesus gave us to take on that higher awareness is the Lord's Prayer. The Lord's Prayer is a series of affirmations, and we've been studying it on Sundays, and on Wednesday nights, the tool that we've been using is Setting a Trap for God by Rocco Errico, the Aramaic scholar. And we've chosen this study because Aramaic is the language that Jesus spoke in, which was then translated into Greek, which became the Scripture. And so there are some nuances to the language that we can study and bring into our spiritual awareness through studying the original Aramaic words that he would have spoken. So the second half of the prayer, we're into the second half of the prayer. The first half really had to do with establishing ourselves in our awareness of our oneness with God. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. We're remembering the truth of our oneness. And as we move into this next part of the prayer, give us this day our daily bread, we are now moving into our earthly manifestation. So now what we are calling forth through the infinite potential and provision of God into our human experience. And so the first thing that Jesus gives us to affirm, not beg, not plead, not get down on our knees and hope, but to affirm, give us this day our daily bread, in an awareness that it is already provided. And the Aramaic is Havlan Lokma Dushun Kanang Yalmana. To understand the original meaning of these words, Rocco Errico tells us that we need to look at the attitude of the Eastern people toward bread. So that it literally translates into provide us our needful bread from day to day. And so these people in the Near East, the people who were living in the time of Jesus, that they lived very simply, and they would bake their bread just for the day. They didn't bake loaves, big loaves, or certainly didn't go to the grocery store and have their sandwich slices and parcel it out for the week. They would bake just what they needed for that day for their family, as well as a little extra considering any travelers or strangers who may come by. They're very hospitable people. And part of their culture, because there are so many people traveling by foot in those times, that they would open their doors to their fellow traveler and provide bread for them. So they always had a little extra to share, and an awareness that that person who they cared for, who was a stranger, a traveler in their house one day, they may be their host another day as that person goes off and travels, and whether by foot or by donkey or camel or what have you, that they may stop into their house. And so it's that mutuality of giving that is so beautiful in the culture. So the bread is baked to last just one day. And so give us this day our daily bread is really that faith, that trust, that that bread is going to be available day to day. And imagine how wonderful it was to live then and to smell that bread baking every day. And so what was interesting too as we look at this study is that they treated their fellow travelers well, but that they even treated their enemies well. That if an enemy came to their house, their custom was you could stay 3 days. And they would provide food and shelter and sword. They were to protect you. They would even protect you. However, people knew that before the third night, get out, because then all bets are off and enemies once more, I guess. So this was a really interesting aspect of their culture, that they would take in an enemy, they agreed to do that, to provide for them for 3 days. That was the etiquette. The Easterners believe that bread is God's provision. They had the conscious awareness that the food, the sustenance that they are given is of God. And so that was the way they spoke about it in their culture, and that the bread had a sacred, mystical quality to it. And they would make covenants with each other when they would make agreements with someone else. And what they called it was a bread and salt covenant. That's how sacred bread was to them. They would say, there is bread and salt between us. And that was a sincere and a solemn agreement that they had with each other. And if it was broken, it may sound lighthearted, bread and salt, it was very serious. If it was broken, then that breach of trust considered that person unworthy forever, unworthy of trust forever with that person if they broke that covenant. It was the idea of bread was considered consecrated in the same way that now we would consider the communion host to be consecrated. It has been blessed. They considered all bread like that, because before they would even bake it, they were blessing it. When they were farming, when they were putting their seeds in the ground, they were blessing the seeds. They understood it was all from God. This understanding made me think about an experience that I had when I was studying in the spiritual direction program at Perkins School of Theology in Dallas. I was going up there. It was a 3-year program, and I was going up there 3 times a year, and we would study. We'd get there on Friday. We'd have classes Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then at the end of the session on Sunday, we would have a worship service. And part of the worship service was to have communion. And it was presided over by a minister, and the bread was blessed. And the bread was a big loaf, kind of what we think about when we think of bread. Maybe what I thought of as maybe the bread they had back then was like one of those big round loaves that has like, it's just crusty, and that wasn't the kind of bread that they had. But that's the bread that I think of when I think of communion. And they would you tear a piece off a hunk off the loaf, and then dip it into the wine, and then eat it. And what I noticed was the head of the department, his name is Dr. Habitel, wonderful teacher, and he had been a priest, and that after the communion, he was going around picking up little crumbs off of the floor and putting them in his pocket. And I thought, they let the head of the department pick up the crumbs off the, come on, nobody's gonna step in. And then I noticed how careful he was about it. Going down to the floor, and picking it up and putting it in his pocket. And I recognized that that was holy for him, that he recognized that that was blessed bread, and that wasn't to be trampled on after the communion was over, that was to be disposed of in the right way. I was glad he didn't eat it. But that, just that simple honoring, that recognition of God's blessing upon that. It was just such a holy moment for me. And then it was wonderful to see that whenever it happened. I'm grateful that he demonstrated that for us. So like the song that we shared, By Thy Grace, the Easterners do everything in God's holy name. That is how they spoke, they continued their practice. The men called on God's name as they planted the seeds in the harvest, and the women called on God's name as they kneaded the dough and baked it. And they were aware of their source. Provide us, give us this day our daily bread. Reminded them that God provides us the bread. And so Eastern bread, so it isn't like that big hunky loaf that's crusty, that it was thin like a Mexican tortilla and fairly big, 10 to 12 inches. And Rocco Errico said that he went on a trip and 40 people ate off of one of these. I don't know how that's possible. 12 inches isn't that much to me. But they shared it, they divvied it up, and that was the practice that they have there. And they could take this flatbread and fold it up like a handkerchief and put it in their pocket. And so because they walked and traveled so much, they could carry some of this bread with them, enough for the day. They needed to carry their provision for the day because inns were scarce there, and they didn't know when they would have what they needed. And so whenever they sat, the custom was to share the bread. So what they learned was that if they they needed more, they didn't want to share whatever, that they would secretly eat the bread as they were walking. And there's a spiritual significance to that as well, of the secret bread, as we consider the bread that we experience in secret in the holy place within us. There's some significance. So bread, there are various meanings of that word bread. Give us this day our daily bread. That the Aramaic word not only reflected actual bread, so if you're gluten-free, no worries, it also meant food. So whatever food that you're receiving throughout the day, and symbolically it represents ideas, our prosperity. In metaphysics, we understand that our true prosperity is divine ideas. The infinite flow of divine ideas are always available to us, and it is from those ideas that we manifest, that we create form. That is our spiritual food that is always given so that we may prosper. And the bread also refers to truth and understanding that is given from the divine. And so we know that when Jesus went out into the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights, that he fasted. He ate no bread, he ate no drink. He fasted for 40 days. And the Gospel of Matthew says after the 40 days and nights, he was led out into the desert. And so as you can imagine, Jesus was tired, he was weak, and he was hungry. 40 days, it's unimaginable. And yet we see this story of our master teacher, and he's led out into the desert, and Satan comes to him and says, if you are the Son of God, turn these stones to bread. Well, why don't you just make some bread for yourself because you need it, you're hungry, right? And we could even think of this rather than an external person or a physical form like a devil or Satan, like a kind of a dark energy that comes to us when we feel like we're not at our best, when we're hungry, when we're tired, when we've had enough, when we've had crisis overload, as we may be having in this time. It just seems like a lot of things keep coming up. That there's this temptation that comes, and Jesus responds with a quote from the words of Deuteronomy, from the law of his people, the Hebrew law, and he said, "It is written, man cannot live by bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." So this first temptation that Jesus had involved bread, just the basic sustenance of our physical being. And what happens when we don't have our physical needs met, when we go into fear of survival? We go into this base level of animalistic kind of fear. So consider when you get afraid, when your well-being is at stake, in whatever way maybe that has shown up for you in your life lately. If your survival feels like it's at stake, do you fall into fear? Do you fall into old ways of self-protection, old ways of getting your needs met where they may be harmful to others? They may be words, emotions, actions that are not your highest and best. There are many opportunities throughout our week that we can operate from a choice of our survival instinct or trust in God. And like the song says, I surrender, I surrender, I surrender. To surrender even that and even that and even that so that we can return to the trust in God. And it takes stillness and self-love and practice to do that, to move back into our awareness of God as our source, to release fear, to release the limitations of what we see outside of ourselves, which is only ever a partial view. It's only ever some of the information. It certainly is not all there is in God, all the possibilities, always available, our provision. And so if there's an area in your life where you are caught in fear and falling back into ways that you go, oh, I'm just under so much stress, I don't feel like myself right now. To surrender, surrender, let go, return back home to God. There's a peace in you where you're not afraid, even when you're afraid. Even when you're experiencing fear, we don't have to be afraid of fear. We can allow fear as it arises and witness it from that space of the peace that we are, the peace within us. So I'll close with a reminder once again of that song that we shared, I Trust in God. Let that be your mantra this week. I trust in God for my daily bread. Our daily bread begins like these Near Easterners did in Jesus' time and continue to do in that culture. As they prepare their food, whether it came from a grocery store or you baked it yourself, that remembering it came from God. And then see if you can expand that into every area of your life and allow yourself to see that even in the difficult moments and areas. Repeat that. I trust in God. I trust in God. Say it with me. I trust in God. And so as you pray, give us this day our daily bread. As you pray that, use that as a way to open, to release your fears, to trust in that provision provided. As you walk, the provision is needed. And return to the peace of God that always dwells in you, that is the very truth of your being, that we remember as we focus on the simplicity of the bread that we receive every day. Namaste.
Thank you, Reverend Jeanmarie. What a beautiful lesson. I don't think you can see from where you are, but the slide that Jen has up there has a big, delicious slice of dark crust bread, and I can smell it right over there. And the whole time you were describing, I was like, please stop. I was just like, oh my goodness, it was so palpable and beautiful. So thank you for all of the richness of that lesson. I have a question for you. I, share Catholicism, a Catholic background, and I'm curious, while you were preparing this, if you related it and how you related it, anything you would like to share about, communion in the Catholic Church, and all that we were taught about that experience and that sacrament in relation to the Middle Eastern tradition that Jesus actually lived in, that, Raka Erika revealed. Something, just curious about connections you might have made.
Yes, that was always a very sacred moment for me when I was in Catholic Mass and the priest held up the host, and I remember one of my teachers, a nun, she said, as he holds up the host and they ring the bell, think my Lord and my God. And that stayed with me in my mind, that the transfiguration, as it was called, of the bread into transubstantiation. That's right. Yeah, thank you. Former Catholics here, always in our hearts, and to see that, to recognize that as Jesus' presence, and why not have that awareness now? To recognize, because we know that the consciousness of the Christ is everywhere, and ritual just heightens our awareness of that. And so in that moment, our attention is focused there on the host, but we recognize that consciousness is everywhere and within each person, so it just helps us. So as I thought about that, I definitely thought about that host and how it does not taste like bread. For one, it's like this dry thing, but just how holy when I took it in, and you just are supposed to let it just melt in your mouth and dissolve and take it in, and everything slowed down during communion, and just to kneel and feel God's presence is just very holy, and that's what we do when we meditate. We don't need the host to do that. We can do that in our hearts and in our consciousness. Just slow down and feel God's presence and feel grateful and be at peace.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I was not in the zone of communion as you were speaking, but I was in the daily ritual of it. I heard a lot of, when you linger into a small portion of the prayer for not only today, but for the duration of this week, because there's sort of a built resonance between what we're doing in our spirit groups and on Sunday morning and then on Wednesday night. And so I've sort of been in this space for a while. And it feels like a lesson in living in the present. There are similar metaphors like walk to the edge of the light you can see. Or the one that I come to routinely is do the next right thing. If I'm overwhelmed by the volume of tasks expected of me or what I need to get done, give us this day our daily bread. Do the next right thing, and that's enough. That's enough. It's not like, and the week that, I'm going to have a little fear about what's coming next week, so I need to have that reserved too. No, just today. And that's not merely enough, but that's all we need.
Yeah. I love that you brought that up, because in my spirit group, what came up was enough is the new perfect.
Oh, wow.
Enough is the new perfect. Yeah. Enough is perfect. Just what we experience and give and do in one day is enough and perfect for today. And then tomorrow there will be more. There's always more to do. It's the awesome part of life. Thank God there's more to do, that there's a purpose and a desire to live on into the next day.
So do you think that realization is a gift of the pandemic, that I feel, at least in my own life, that I'm slowing down, that I'm putting a lot more balance into it. A lot of the time that my day was caught up in preparing myself or getting ready and driving somewhere and being somewhere and being away from the household and then coming home and then trying to hurry up and do stuff or do things on the way, that I felt I was frenetic and busy all the time and not accomplishing all the things I wanted or needed to do. And now being able to work from home, which is a blessing, to have more time that isn't involved in going somewhere, and I'm getting as much or more done, and I have a lot more balance and a lot more quiet and silence and ease and all of that. So it feels like that daily bread idea, right? It's everything you need right here, right now. And there have been days I've just kicked back, like on my day off, I was going to go and do a whole bunch of things, and then I didn't. I just vegged, and I thought, well, I can have a veg day too, right? I can also just sit here, and I am a happy girl just to be looking around, with really nothing to do. I'm happy with that. I was also relating the story of the bread, the daily bread, to the story of the Israelites and the manna in the desert, because that bread also teaches the same lesson. It comes down, and it appears in the morning, and it's the bread for the day, but it can't be stored. It goes bad. So it's only enough, you gather enough to eat, enough to suit your needs, and then you have to let it go because it spoils. And so you have to wait and trust that tomorrow, another day, there will be more provision. And it's a beautiful practice and lesson, a way for us all to apply this daily bread idea, I think, too.
I appreciate your reference to how the pace of our staying at home and the pandemic, how it affects our daily living. And tempted as I am to try to, I'll say it this way, we live year after year after year with familiarity with the seasons, with the holidays. Even a week to week, there's a rhythm to it. And so we sort of fit into that rhythm. We have an expectation. We know what that feels like. And we know what Octoberness feels like, because we did it last year and we have experience at it and we can forecast as to what next October is going to be like. And so we have a certain relationship to that. And this episode of our lives does not have a clear reference. And I want it to at times, and I try to imagine, well, I listen to the news about vaccine and imminence of our being able to reunite and have full assembly, and I'm not looking for my daily bread there. I'm looking for the reservoir, and I'm kind of projecting into that a little bit, but I don't have to do it too many times to realize how futile that is. And I am tempted, therefore, to extrapolate and think, okay, well, there's a design to this. This pandemic, we're going to be in this zone until we get what we get, and then we'll move on. And I actually am trying to extract from that myself, from the idea that there is a design to it. That if there's a design, my role in it is just to live it. And that only after a certain gestational period of it will I be able to fully appreciate all that has been born during this time. But my goodness, it's if ever there's a lesson for living our daily bread, this is it.
Yeah.
And then that's it, enough.
Yeah. As much as I spent time thinking, I want things to get back to normal, now I'm thinking, am I going to be okay with back to normal? What's back to normal? Seems like I don't want to go back. I don't know, so whatever new iteration it'll be.
Right. What I'm hoping is that we make a nice hybrid out of it, that we're able to take the best of this time and then reconnect. Because the connection is what we're missing, but a reconnection and an opportunity for us to keep the balance as much as we can. So that's my vision and my prayer, for that. So thank you. Thank you all for that. This is our time in the service to join in prayer, because as we, have been noticing in our prayer time this evening, we are connected. We know we are. And in that connection, there is power. And so we like to share our prayer requests, knowing that we are sending them out into an energetic field among us, not just in this room, but beyond this room, into all of you who are listening and paying attention and being a part of this service this evening. And so we invite you now to enter into a quiet state within yourself. And take a deep breath in. And as you do, just allow yourself to gently bring to mind conditions or people that you hold, that you would like to hold up, that you would like to hold for greater good to enter into. An evolution of a condition or situation, an evolution for a person that you love or care about. And however it is and whatever it is, as we hold our minds around it and as we gently release them into this care of God, let us envision that among us and beyond us, connecting us, is this beautiful presence of God, this field of energy. And with intention and with great love, let us speak the condition or the name we wish to surrender into that loving care now. And so we take a deep breath in and out, and we release. And we know that with our intention, with our surrender, God is now empowered in these conditions and in these lives once again by our letting go and by our trust and by our faith that all is well and will be revealed in beautiful ways. And so it is. Amen. Thank you, David. It was so sweet. We have things going on, believe it or not. One thing that we really want to bring to your attention, if you weren't aware, is that our campus has opened for to be part of the election process. Not all of it, really. It's over in the annex. But we are open as an early voting site for the general election. For the details, you can find harrisvotes.com. harrisvotes.com. That will be the way for you to get the hours and the details and that kind of thing. But you can come in onto our campus, and how cool is that to be able to vote at your church? We think that's cool if you haven't yet, so trust that you'll be able to. Landscape Work Day is this Saturday from 8:30 to noon. We're asking volunteers to help beautify our campus, and also bring your own tools and know that there will be some snacks and water provided. So it's an opportunity to really make a difference here visibly. This Sunday, Reverend Michael will be continuing the Touchstone series. I Release and I Trust God will be his portion of the Lord's Prayer and his lesson for this Sunday. I hope that you've been able to pay attention to that or participate in it one way or another. We are still open for attendance. You just go online and to our homepage and you'll find the RSVPs. That's one thing that will help you to be able to sign up. But even watching the live stream, I hope that you've been able to see these beautiful lessons that Reverend Michael has been giving to us. They're just pearls on a chain, I think. It's really lovely. This Sunday also, right here in the pyramid, our Spanish service team will be here at 9:45. They will be speaking, not they, but actually Giovanna Speck will be speaking on Libero y confío en Dios, which is I release and I trust in God. And they also will be live streaming as well. And they're accepting attendance too, so RSVPs are necessary for that as well. So just know that that's all you can find, all the RSVPs on the homepage. Animal Kinship is accepting dry pet food. It's their monthly donation time this Sunday from 10:30 to 1:30 in the sanctuary drive-through. So if you'd like to contribute, we appreciate you in advance for that. Next Wednesday, Reverend Jeanmarie will be back with the power of forgiveness to continue our exploration of the Lord's Prayer and RSVPing for our Wednesday night attendance. We asked that will start, I believe, tomorrow, Thursday, but it'll continue on until noon on Wednesday. So that will be a way for you to join us as we've had some people here with us. It's delightful to have them. So we're glad that you joined us, and we hope that you'll join us again next week. And bring a friend if you'd like. Please keep your mask on as you exit the building immediately following the service. And now Reverend Jeanmarie will lead us in our metta practice.
As we speak these words, let us send deep metta to all those who have been suffering, all who are in fear, that they may know the love of God with them now. By the power of this practice, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they know the sacred joy that arises in the space beyond suffering. May they rest in equanimity that knows no grasping or hatred. May they experience the equality of all beings. May my practice be of benefit to all. Namaste.